This is not like here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here, and it's just like that. We're on. My name is Michael Dean, and joining me today, we're just gonna go through here real quick. First of all, we're gonna start with my man Prince's friend. Sir, how are you?
What up? What up? Yeah, hey, dude. I'm Prince's friend, host of the Prince's Friend YouTube channel. Real name's Aloy, obviously. That's why I put Aloy in the thing. But yes, I'm so happy to be here. Honestly, it's been a minute since I've seen any of y'all virtually face to face.
What's up, man? Yeah, and I'm gonna speak for some of the listeners out there. Where the videos at, man?
The videos are forthcoming. I took a venture into writing for video games, and that is going very well. And it is super time consuming. So the videos they haven't fit in, but they're coming. I have a lot that I have to say about, especially this new, super deluxe box set.
Right on. Basically, you said
This is a business.
I feel
100%, 100%.
Love it.
Got to pay them bills.
Okay.
all right. Also joining us, Mr. Ricky Wyatt. Sir, how are you?
Hey man, I'm living the dream, brother. How about you?
I'm blessed.
Hey man, so good, man. I'm so glad to be back with my cohorts. Eloy, Nicolay, Law, you. I'm so waiting on one other person, but I'm not gonna spoil the surprise for the folks. When he gets here.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. My man, straight out of Brooklyn, Mr. Law. Call the Law. What's up, Law?
Man.
Call
I'm doing good. Blessed, kicking ass. I'm so happy to see y'all fellas, man. It's been a minute, but every time we get together for our idol, man, it's always one nation under a groove, as my mentor George would say. So I'm with it.
Absolutely. Glad you're here, sir. And I don't know if I got the chance to say it to you yet, but I saw you in the studio with Tony M. We are waiting and want to see what y'all cooking. So yeah, keep that.
You know what? I saw you in there with Leon Silvers too. I saw a post about that, man.
Lord.
Yeah,
Yes.
bro.
All right.
On and
Sure,
pop
but
your collar.
Master.
all I say is wait for it. It's you see my face. Y'all know anything, y'all know me already. It's devious. That's all I'm saying.
That's what's up. All right. And also, we got, man, this is so many talented people in here. It'd be intimidating me. You feel me? So, also, we have my man, Nicolay. Sir, how are you?
What's going on, brother? I'm well. I'm happy to be out of Prince fandom retirement. I'm back. I got new opinions. I've been training. So no, I'm all bullshit.
He's been training.
All BS aside, very happy to be here. It's an exciting time, and it's an exciting occasion. Got more Prince music to talk about. That's always a good day. So I'm always here for it. I'm excited to be with all these incredible brothers over here. So it's gonna be great.
And real quick, man, I didn't get to do like everybody's sort of bio and everything, but everybody that you see up here is qualified, certified, longtime fans. They doing their thing and they personal. There's a lot of musicians on the stage right now, YouTubers, all that. So everybody in here has got a great take and opinion, and so it's gonna be exciting, man. Let's get into this. I kind of wanted to. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just had to get into the spirit of Prince. We're not gonna get D'Angelo. We ain't gonna get you shut down. I see my man coming in here late. We're gonna bring him in here. But we just want to get into the vibe real quick.
Don't play that.
You know what I'm saying? Wild ass rocking. Big sexy. Sir, how are you? Doing the worm. Okay.
Gentlemen, it has been far too long.
Indeed.
I apologize for my tardiness. Had a little bit of computer situation. I have resolved it, and I'm in the building.
All right, we're gonna give you 10 more seconds. Let them horns swell. We'll do it one more time with the horn. Get him, Law. Get him.
Law's feeling it.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Amen. All right. Let's get into it. We're here to talk about the videos. Videos that were on the box set and some that were not. featured as well. And I wanted to kind of just start with a little bit to say, the video or the rollout for this album sort of centered on videos, video performances, TV appearances, I should say. So keeping in mind that the album came out October the 1st of 91. But the first time we got our first taste, our first look, sort of mainstream public wise, was the Special Olympics performance that happened in July, right? And we're going to touch on some of these. I just want to give the timeline real quick. So we had that was July 20th of 1991. So a month before, and we got to hear Diamonds and Pearls. It was the first time we got to hear that. Was a new song. And for a lot of us at that time, Prince was kind of like, what's going to happen next? He just came off of Graffiti Bridge, right? And here was, there was a little gap, and then here's a new band in terms of what a lot of us got to see, a new look. So I remember watching that when that came on TV. Months later in September, and we really want to talk about this, was the MTV performance on the Music Video Awards, Get Off. Again, brand new image, new songs, new styling. Boom. And that was, I hate to do this like this, but that would almost be like, in my mind, a Motown 25 kind of moment for Prince, in a sense where even to this day, you still people talking about that.
Yeah.
A few days later, September 9th, Arsenio Hall performance. And boom, that was like, so with all of that said, man, I want to start at the top.
Mike, you forgot one, my friend.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You forgot one, the rollout of the Get Off VHS.
Yes, absolutely. I think I was probably thinking of TV stuff here, but you're absolutely right. So let's go all the way back to the Special Olympics and also the inclusion of that on this box set. I'm going to go to you guys. I'm going to start with Eloy first. One, what is some of your first recollections of seeing that? I don't know if you saw it in real time or if you saw it later, but just some of your thoughts on the Special Olympics.
No, I did not see it in real time. As a lot of people who follow me know, like my very first Prince album was Graffiti Bridge, and that was what got me in, right? And his Jesus look, and still would stand all time and everything. So I had a very exciting year waiting for the next album to come out. And that was, obviously Diamonds and Pearls after that. But yeah, and I hit everything else, but the Special Olympics, I don't know if I was just out of the loop or whatever. But, at my age of, 12, I just wasn't up on the Special Olympics at that age, I guess. As most 12-year-olds, I was the one out. But yeah, so but no, it was really cool to see it now in the box set, especially for the, mostly the behind the scenes, like the rehearsal stuff, them just kind of being people, right? Just like hanging out and just seeing their interactions. I mean, the performance itself was awesome, obviously. But honestly, the most fun I had with that part of the video and a lot of like the recordings, like the different takes and stuff of the songs, is really just the interaction between Prince and his band members, and how, like, I don't know, it felt like everybody's just having a good time.
Yeah. What did you think when you first heard the song Diamonds and Pearls, though? Did you like
when
it
I first heard Diamonds and Pearls? Oh gosh. I heard it and I was just like, that's what's up. Like, it's basically like, that was like, I had a very like cool kind of attitude about it, because I was like, that's really cool. It's in vein with kind of what I was expecting. It was good. It wasn't until I got the actual album, and then the album blew me away, because nothing else on the album sounds like Diamonds and Pearls, so, and that's how it is. But I like Diamonds and Pearls is what I expected the rest of the album to sound like, and it didn't.
Okay. Law.
Yes, sir.
Let's see some of your thoughts on the Special Olympics.
Anybody that's seen my show pretty much already kind of knows how much stuff we actually, me and my band and my dance crew and singers, like, took from that. Because the first time I saw that, it was like with all Prince projects, I'm just like, I'm waiting. I'm just waiting to see what he's going to do next. Like at that point, as a diehard Supreme Prince aficionado, going a little bit further back, it just was like, okay, Prince, what you going to do now? Like let's see what's up. So to see the Special Olympics performance, he does Diamond, he debuts the song. I'm like, well, I'm loving the song because that's just, Prince has always been a master at showing his vulnerability, especially through the ballads, whether it's something about peace or something spiritual or just straight up love making. You know how Prince do.
Mhm.
And then to go from that and then to go into this hyper tense version of Baby I'm a Star, that pretty much, I'm like, just when you thought that he couldn't get no better than what he had already done up until that point, we just sitting there, me, my best friend and my brother, we just sitting there like, this like that's how we just was hyped, like everything, that the whole setup, and then of course with the Game Boys induction and that whole thing, for me as an MC, in addition to my musicianship and my singing, that already had me like, Prince has finally came to hip hop. I'm like, this is just, it was a celebration for us. I'm like, he finally done immersed himself in including this part of what he was doing in that section. So everything else that came after that performance, it was just like, y'all other artists, y'all better go back and rewrite your albums. Y'all better rethink your stage shows, because if it's anything like what I just saw here, this is what's going to tour going to look like, or whatever the case may be. It's a wrap. So that's where I was with it.
It's funny you mentioned that. One of the things I remember when Baby I'm a Star, when they did that, I don't remember the exact point, but there's a part where doesn't he like sing one of the lyrics in a different, I don't know how to describe it. He sings it the same lyric, but the way he does his voice was different. It was like a different key or something.
Cadence,
yeah, it just jumped out. I was like, wow, I didn't think I could hear this any differently. And here he is doing it different. Nicolay. So we're talking about the Special Olympics. One, we want to continue to talk about performance, but also we want to bring in the sound check aspect too. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, as well as what you thought of this performance.
Yeah, it was something that I didn't hear until after the fact. Like I was like 91 was sort of my last year in high school, and after really becoming like a massive fan in 87 with Sign of the Times, and then Love Sexy was huge in Europe. I lost some interest after that. Like Batman was still very dear and dear to me, but like I did lose some interest. Like I was getting into hip hop specifically. And so I wasn't really, when the first sort of signs of Diamonds and Pearls were coming out, like he wasn't really on my radar like that. And from there on, it was a period of time where I was either really into something that I heard, or it was just like, not really checking my boxes. But I do distinctly remember that I thought Diamonds and Pearls was incredible. That it was so melodic, like a lot of melody in the bass, which I was really into. And I think it was the Special Olympics itself, I didn't see, I think, until like I really got into the bootleg side of things. I don't know if it was ever aired in Europe, but either way, it really wasn't something that I saw later and realized like how that new band had sort of like given him, I think a very fresh sort of new lease on life. To me personally, the new tour and what I heard and saw of the new tour, like I know there's big fans of the new tour in the community, but to me that was like almost like a moment where I sort of heard Prince hitting a wall with a lot of the arrangements, with a lot of the medleys, and it just didn't feel as energetic as I had heard him before. And I feel like once the MPG sort of formed, and the energy that like Michael B gave to like something like that Baby I'm a Star 1999, it was a rejuvenation. And I think Prince sort of really deliberately, I think, designed that, but also was able to ride that. And so yeah, I thought Diamonds and Pearls was an incredible song. It's one of those Prince songs that you feel you've heard it before the first time you hear it, because it's so there's a universal element to it. Like Gold is another one where you just like, wait, like, is have I heard this before, or is this, and I think it there were a number of singles that followed that we'll get into another time that really sort of made me realize that there was something really new going on, and I appreciated really the live field band track specifically, and so to see that sound check and to see all these like, to me this is sort of the quintessential kind of the 92, maybe 91 to 95 period, very dear to my heart because of the synergy of the band members, of Levi Caesar specifically, who I thought was just an amazing, like, that's more kind of a act one, act two discussion later on down the line. But the bass, the guitar, the rhythm section, the inclusion of a big band, quote unquote, really, I just think lit a fire under his ass, and he did for them, So it those performances are off the chain, and to see, and I think that's also goes for me for like the Glam Slam video in particular, but to see a lot of these close-ups, to see, like, again, this was an era where I wasn't really experiencing it first person, to see a lot of these close-ups, to see the sound checks, to see the interaction, to me takes this to an entire level. This is for me, very honestly, the first box set where the material isn't sort of dead center target for me, and as such, like, I love it so much because it really is it really has given me a completely new appreciation of this era that at the time I was kind of blasé about, but with the the bittersweet blessing of hindsight and a lot of these extra things that have come out, like, I'm so enamored and so sucked into it, and I think the podcasts this time were really, really great. Like hearing Michael B's story about being a young, kid getting picked up and asking Prince like what time the flight is and stuff, like, man, listen, that you can't really, so yeah, all good stuff.
You brought up something I wanted to ask real quick to deviate for a second. I want to ask this to everybody, and we'll go back to talk about. You said something about you were a little blasé about this period of Prince, and I know I know there was a lot of fans, especially I always feel like a lot of my music cats who kind of not felt a certain way, but it was just kind of like, I don't know about this part. So I wanted to ask everybody in here real quick, and I could be, what was your initial when you was like, okay, they're about to do Diamonds and Pearls? Were you always rocking with this period? I mean, just real quick, I'm gonna go to Ricky's. I see you shaking your head.
Well, I caught it real time. So I remember that day, you know, the times where you just got to notice that he was going to be like performing, but it didn't say when and say the lineup. So like you kind of had to tune in,
Yeah.
and set your VHS or man, scramble to find a spot on your tape, like
Talk
so you
about
wouldn't
that,
miss it. And then it just so happened that he opened, and
right?
so when he opened, fortunately my friend had his tape ready, and it was like, Prince and MPG, and it was like a new song. Like, I mean, you could tell from, say, the opening chords that it was something new. So if you can imagine it, it was like a time stand still moment because you're trying to hear,
Mm,
and then you're trying to catch the visual. You're trying to see, wait a minute, I don't see too many familiar faces. Who are these new people? You're trying to see like who you recognize in, say, the band, and then like you're trying to do all these three things, man, at one time, and it's like time is going kind of slow. And then I just remember after Diamonds and Pearls, like when it got to Rosie's part, it was just like, you could have heard a pin drop in my friend's house. It was just like, oh man. And then, I know some people are kind of raving about the, like Baby I'm a Star, like 1999 part. And that was cool, but I think everybody that I was in the house with at that time was fascinated with the new song that we had just heard that we didn't know. And it was like, oh wow, something new. And we were like waiting for the performance to end so we could stop the tape and then rewind it and then watch it again.
mm,
And that's what I remember, like being, real time, like at that moment was kind of like, you were trying to take it like three things in at one time because you didn't recognize anybody. Well, I mean, except for Levi, and you didn't get a whole lot. And this is pre-social media, so you didn't get a whole lot of pictures or images of like the new tour, unless the MTV or BH1 or BET did some type of special, and like you saw a clip or two here or there. But it was like wasn't like a lot that you could catch. You might have recognized the Game Boys from like the Thieves in the Temple video, maybe, but like mostly, like you're talking about a new background. I mean, it's a new keyboard player, singer, another new keyboard player, a new drummer, a new bass player. Um, you know, I think the horn section was there. I can't remember to right off, man, if they were there or not. But like all of that shit was new, and then it's like you said, it was kind of like a Motown like 25 moment in that like everything just kind of stopped. Like I don't think anybody that I knew that saw it real time was like multitasking, doing anything. It was like sit down, be still, like let me take this in moment. And I think from that, I don't recall the Get Off single being out at that time. So whatever interest that may not have been at that time, it was definitely kind of heightened in because it was like, okay, well, something's coming. And he's not doing his performance if something's not coming soon. So it's just if this is one of the songs and this is fantastic, then we can't wait to hear what the rest of the stuff is gonna sound like. So
Yeah, Big Sexy.
Well, going back to that time period, you guys are young, first of all. I was I was enjoying the summer of being a college graduate at that point. I just wrapped up my degree, and for me, when I saw the graffiti bridge and I saw the Batman stuff, it didn't look like it was a cohesive unit to me. When I saw this at the Special Olympics, and it was on syndication TV here, came on like midnight, but I saw it. I saw a complete band, with new people, like Ricky said, saw some new people in there, and when I heard it, I'm like, okay, now we have. I saw direction because when I saw the new tour, I heard about that. To me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was like a greatest hits tour, which is fine. Got to get paid. I get that, but this was new music, new direction, and which laid the groundwork for a new tour for me, a new appearance, a new presentation. I was all in completely when I saw it all.
All right. And again, this performance and the sound check are included on the Blu-ray in the box set. And I'm glad that it is. I think for me as a fan, that performance is an essential part. Because like Ricky brought up, back then it was all about the videotape, the VHS tape, lining that bitch up. Like, okay, let me get right at the end of this performance so I can tape it right here. You know what I'm saying? Have it paused and ready. This is before YouTube. If you didn't catch it then, you wouldn't go and catch it. So yeah, everything was you recorded it and then the immediate rewatching it over and over every day, studying. My dumb ass, I took the Diamonds and Pearls, dumped that to cassette tape, you know what I'm saying? Put that in the boombox in the ride. Right, boombox in the ride, no cassette, and was just playing that over and over. Like, whoa, what is this? What is? So that leads us to a headbuster moment in Prince history, in my opinion, was the MTV performance. This is months later, September 5th, 1991. And my man comes out there with the Get Off. Understatement to say your head blows up at the time that this happened. Still talked about today. I had told a story weeks ago. I was at 7-Eleven months ago with a Prince shirt. The gentleman was like, "You like Prince?" And he was like, "He got his butt out." I was like, "Okay, that's not my shirt. I ain't got the butt out on my shirt, but that's what he knows. That's what he know with Prince. Like even 2023." So with that said, man, I want to get y'all opinion on this. And first of all, can we agree that, and I understand maybe because of licensings or whatever, but this should have been on the box set. I don't care. To me, I don't care what you had to do.
I agree.
They should have had this on the box set.
Well, that and Arsenio, yeah.
Yes, we're gonna get to that. When I think of Diamonds and Pearls era, this is the first thing that comes to mind, for better or worse for me, just because it was such a whoa, and I thought it killed it. Music, go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, yeah, I think in terms of the context to say the era, like to include it. I don't know if that. I hadn't seen it in like a while.
Mm.
And I do remember my performance being like really hyped. You know what I'm saying? Like they were leading up to like because they kept advertising, "Your Prince is going to be here." Like why they didn't do it, man, who knows? You know, what I'm saying? You know, I'm sure the ladies are disappointed that I get that it's not included.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it. It's probably an MTV thing or something.
yeah.
Maybe they own the rights to that. But with all that said, I want to hear from you guys. Big Sexy, let's start with you. MTV Get Off.
Let me
also ask you this. Let me throw this out there too. The other side of it. Was that performance too far?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. The thing is, I'm looking at now the lineup for that night because I remember watching it in real time. Van Halen opened the show and they did Pound Cake. I'm like, all right, cool. Poison came out and had a little drama. It started one song and then CC, the guitar player, goes into another song, which was drama. Then you had LL come out, do Mama's Gonna Knock You Out. Metallica enter Sandman. And here we go. Closing the house down. The whole Caligula set, Booty Out. But I've seen that before on other artists. So it was not a big deal to me. You had the flaming little pots on stage and all the extras and Diamond and Pearl were running around. I'm like, okay, he's letting people know I run this town. Because a lot of the performance up to that point were really, really standout. And Prince like, hold my drink. He went out there and just shut it down. I remember when Arsenio was introducing him, the people in the audience and around Arsenio were just losing their shit. And then they opened the stage and he did his thing and took everybody's breath away. He turned around, Booty Out, like, oh, okay. Now, see, to me, like I said, I saw that in 1984. David Lee Roth did the same thing on the encores on the 1984 tour, and he did it at Us Festival too. So it wasn't that big a deal to me. But a lot of people saw it and freaked out, and I thought, this is Prince, Mr. Bikini Draws back in the day. Right. So I don't know
why. It was TV too. I mean, so
Well, yeah, true.
So it was TV too. So,
but it wasn't network TV. It was MTV. So
But also for anybody who hasn't seen it too, like it was veiled over. Like it wasn't just his actual butt up. It was just kind of peekaboo. Like kind of veiled over, but it wasn't like just ass out,
That's a good point, but his intention is for you to think it's his ass.
Yes. Our minds go places.
Now, see, for me, like Rick said earlier, it was the whole band. The whole band was new. He came out and said, "This is the new deal now," and boom, and the new tour was mentioned a while ago, and I remember I have that. Dr. Fink is on there, and I don't see him at all on the new tour. I think he was on his way out. And so when you see the two new keyboardists, you got Tommy and Rosie doing their thing, whole new band vibe, whole new sound. Let's rip. And I was all for it.
Yeah. Law. What was your thoughts on this performance, man?
Man, to counter what Sexy was saying, and the thing is, this is Prince Rogers Nelson we're talking about. So if you was already, you gotta remember, as most people see my interviews and know, my mother's the one that introduced me to Prince. So there you go. And my mother's a Christian woman. So we'll run with that later. But the thing is that, in context, and there's a backstory behind this too. So follow with me. It's crazy because my cousin Rubber Band, who's a legendary dancer, was part of Mariah Carey's. Remember, Mariah Carey performed Emotions at that time. It was part of that whole thing. And I remember him telling me about a week later, because I knew that he was on set with Mariah. They said, we went over to Prince's set and it was supposed to be closed, but everybody was talking, and then Prince just walks in, doesn't say anything, and points to the band. They start rehearsing. Prince had on these different pants. So as everybody knows, nobody knew what Prince exactly was going to do, especially with the whole setup of the way things were looking. And because, let's just keep it honest, he's so smart, because he knew that if they would have saw him and what he was intending to do with the pants, it would have got obliviated. They would have tried to ban it. You see how much they tried to do it even after the fact. They was trying to be like, "Oh, we're gonna cover it." It was too late, because by that point, Prince is the king of shock value during that period, and pretty much in the majority of his career. And then on the sidebar level, let alone the song itself, it fit the precision of where he was going with it. So you gotta remember, hearing that backdrop in the back where the drums meet the live drums on a drum programming scale. There's the hip hop influence in there, but then there's still the rock thing in there, but it's still funky as hell. And Prince singing in a monotone. The only thing he does on a higher voice level is the damn intro. So the thing is, everything had a purpose. There's always a method to his madness. So when we saw that, I mean, that's crazy, because we just watch it because it's Prince. And when he did that, you got to have the mother up in knee. I said this over here. I said this mother, and of course, I'm still 91, 92. I'm still a freshman in high school. So the thing is, of course, that was the talk of the town. And when he really had an impact, as y'all know, my favorite variety show, In Living Color. I knew, I said, somebody's going to come up with something. And they did it not once, but twice. First, they did Jamie Foxx with the butt out jeans. I remember that, the whole thing when he did the whole. And then the second one was they were doing this thing where David Allen Greer has the like kind of, I don't want to say because I don't know what the description is, like Tourette syndrome, where he just blurts out anything that he wants to. And he's sitting there, all of a sudden, he's like, Prince got a hairy booty. Like when he did, because you gotta remember, in pop culture, even though people used to get offended by certain things, but as we all know, back then, all publicity was good publicity. So anytime you got mocked or made fun of or anything of that level, that's when you knew you got their attention. And knowing Prince the way we all know him, that is exactly the way he fucking wanted it. It was so smart. And and I remember, this is me learning more about marketing my Planet 12 stuff. Because I'm learning all this stuff. I'm getting it. I'm like, okay. I mean, I may not have my ass out. But
I was about to ask you, did you? Okay.
Hey man, well look, I know.
But at least I know if I'm going to get somebody's attention, there's a method and a way to do it. Because I can truthfully say, with the exception of a few rock bands and probably Madonna, of course, and of course Michael Jackson, considering that every time he did a movie premiere for his videos, it was like, we got to run and see it. So it's just, that was that era. It just makes me miss how much importance it was on the shock value and how it was respected. Because nowadays, nothing's shocking anymore. Nobody's having me like, so it just was a period, man. I get lost in that nostalgic so much, especially when it comes to that video, the MTV performance. And again, it just made me like, I'm just waiting to see what I'm waiting for everything now. It's like, he keeps building these increments up with these performances and these teasers and stuff. I'm just like, come on with it, man.
Yeah. A quick shout out, man, to my frat brothers back then who probably did a few step shows, trying to do butt out pants. They probably got suspended or put on probation or something. But hey, look, they were inspired by Prince to do it, and hey, I heard some stories, so just like, hey. It did have a ripple effect on everybody.
Well, talking about it in pop culture, Law reference Living Color, there was a film that John Ritter did called Stay Tuned, I believe.
Yes.
And he was rocking that Prince get off suit. Like, okay, John, do what you do, man.
Yeah. I remember that shit. Oh my God. Yeah. It's hilarious. Oh my God.
I watched that movie so many times.
Me too. Great movie.
For that scene. Yeah. The thing about it with especially the MTV performance was watching it in real time. I was kind of just like, wow, that was a really good performance. And then people were just like, I was so scandalous that he had his butt out. And I'm like, I mean, like, he had his butt out, like, whatever. It was a great performance. It's weird though, because hindsight is 2020, right? I actually went back and I was watching the MTV performance he did before that one, and that was for Sign of the Times.
Mhm.
And he went up there and he did Play in the Sunshine and he did Sign of the Times, and he was rocking it out, and the crowd gave him nothing. You know, and I was watching it and I was like, the crowd was silent. They were all just talking to it. Like they were just ignoring him. And I'm like, he's creating masterpiece up on the stage and you're ignoring him. And I felt like, I think that's why he did what he did. You know, personally, just my, you know, I'm speculating here, obviously. I feel like he's like, I got to come back to MTV and I'm not just going to get up there and perform. Like it's got to, I'm going to turn heads. I'm going to make controversy. I'm going to destroy the stage. And everybody's gonna be talking about me and no one else. Big Sexy mentioned all those other people. I don't remember anything else about that night.
Yeah, me neither.
Except the Get Off performance.
You got a point. That's
Plus, I think because he was 33 at the time, 33, like 32 or something around there. So like he might have been feeling like, say, you know what, I think there were some. I do remember reading him in a few press releases that maybe his time had passed.
This was kind of billed as his comeback, sort of.
Yeah. And so he probably didn't think it was a comeback, and that he, was still, like that guy. And so,
just to go back to that Sign of the Times thing real quick, though, I think the audience was probably such in shock
that he was there.
He was there, and I think his visual of him and everything was such. Just for me, I was so bewildered by his new look, and you hadn't seen him in a long time. Yeah. This is before you saw everything. So I think people were just like, because I remember watching at home, I was just like,
man, look, I tell you, it probably was a jean jacket. I think everyone loves a jean jacket. It was a jean jacket. It was like, yo,
he had jeans on, essentially too. He was like, whoa. But we'll come back from that. Nicolay, let's jump into, and we brought up hip hop and stuff before, but actually, this was the first rap performance by Prince on a major stage. Like, what were your thoughts on something like that? Like, because to me, I was shocked. I was like,
yeah, I really fucking love Get Off. Like, excuse my French. I really, really thought, and it's kind of what I alluded to earlier, when like he was a little bit hit and miss, or hit or miss in that regard to me. Like later, like something like a My Name is Prince did nothing for me, like absolutely nothing. But Get Off was just a track that had so many, stylistically, it brought so many things together. Like it was definitely sort of a hip hop underground. It reminded me of Go-Go in a sense. Like it had a slower, with that synth bass and the kind of sample way that he brought stuff in and out. And I just really, combined with sort of the new look of the band and the fact that the whole thing was produced to to actually literally remind you of like a movie scene. Like I thought this was really a moment, and I remember seeing it at the time of thinking like, okay, like if this is something that he is going to keep sort of delivering on, then I'm all in. And of course, it didn't end up being exactly that way. But when he would, and like Get Off, like again, musically to me was really solid. Like if I remember correctly, he did that with a chip on his shoulder, because I think maybe the label said that they needed something else after hearing the first configuration of the album, and so I think Get Off was kind of like a chip on his shoulder song. And I think like when he did those over his career, like they were always really, really good. He had something to prove, and I think that was a flawless victory, from the music to the band to the production, to the fact, even the stunt with the assless pants, which, if you look at it now, it's such a small moment in the entire thing. It's like Eloy just said, like it was over before you know it. And it seemed at the time, like to me, like it wasn't a big deal. Like you can draw a direct line to him French kissing Gil Chapman in 1979 or 80. It's not, he's always knew how to sell it and kind of push it right up on the edge. So it was nothing new to me. I love the erotica of the whole thing. Like I thought it was very classy, even though it was, it was sort of like out there. Like the lyrics were amazing to me. Like it was really, and the year later in the summer of '92, when he dropped "Sexy Motherfucker," it was like, wow, this is like it all. Like those were really sort of milestone moments that I was like, man, he's still kicking
That
ass and
guy.
taking names, like for real. Yeah, like and
Guy.
like I remember, like I realize this is out of the context, but I remember the first time I heard "Sexy Motherfucker," and it's like this motherfucker, like literally, you're like only he would do that, and only he did, and only he could get away with it, and that was such a jam. And "Get Off" to me at the same, it was like that sort of real like sex dripping shit, but never in like a truly sort of tacky way. Like I was all on board for that, and so it never really mattered to me that a lot of the album didn't check. Like if I put the album on, like I don't want to hear Thunder, okay? Like I know we get to that, but I wasn't.
It's not one
Wait,
of my
wait,
favorites
wait,
either.
You have
wait.
that band, like I don't need to. I don't need you to hear you do that. And I
Yeah,
didn't get like that. There were all these moments where he didn't really utilize the band, and then others when he did, which is what when I was 100% on board. So I didn't go to see the tour. I would have liked to have seen, I guess, like a for real tour show on the box set.
yeah,
Because those European shows and I think even some of the Japan ones, but I remember there's a legendary run in London where he played like nine, like a bunch of sold out nights, and he did Paris like 5 or 6 nights in a row. And those, it would have been nice to see a fully produced with the cymbal hand, like the whole intro count off thing that he like. Those tours were amazing to me. A lot of them I heard again after the fact when I was going through unauthorized recordings, but that tour was amazing, and Rosie Rosie was absolutely it for me. Like and even just hearing like the moments with Rosie were just kind of like for me sort of like what he was trying to do or what he was doing with Boney Boyer for Love Sexy, but in such a more focused way, in such a more attentive way. And obviously he was in love with her voice, and yeah, there was just I don't know, there was just a lot there, and it felt like to come back to the hip hop thing. Like Get Off was a success in that regard to me. Like it wasn't a straight up hip hop song, but it had that sensibility, and it was legit, and it got street credit for it. Like everybody, like some of the hardest cats that I know really, really, really mess with Get Off. Like, and because it's really
yeah.
it's that so
Had
it's
that,
a legit a successful experiment.
yeah, man, had that I don't know, maybe the feel of like I mean booming system, LL's booming system.
Yeah,
And
yeah, Marley. Yeah.
yeah, and then
Mhm.
something else, yeah, it had that feel. Hey, man, shout out to the I have a question for the people commenting. So how many of you commenting um went back and watched man Caligula after you heard that the Get Off video was inspired by Caligula?
I still have never seen that movie.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
wild.
it's crazy.
It's wild.
It's crazy. It's a crazy movie.
Yeah, how many of
I'm
y'all,
gonna say
okay,
that,
Game of Thrones watchers and Spartacus watchers, watch Caligula after you heard the Prince video was inspired by Caligula.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then is that like something that's like confirmed that he was, I mean, inspired by Caligula, or
yeah,
that just
Prince was a man. I mean, I'll say this, and I think everybody who's deep into it, the way we all are, if you look back at a lot of things that Prince did, even going back to, to go back to Purple Rain, which we all don't want to do all the time, but when you go back to all those different things leading up to this, and then even a little bit after the fact, Prince has always been a master of reading and putting certain things together because there's always an influence. No, like in the words of my idol Nas, no idea is original. Something has to build up in increments to be presented, and something that we might not have been thinking about before. Because even especially for some of us who were still in high school learning about so many different things. So when I learned about that, it didn't hit me. And when I finally did see that, I'm like, this dude Prince was reading erotic literature. And then we heard the stories about him growing up. That's how he was taught about the birds and the bees. I heard that in the Chris Rock interview. He was saying, there was all type of erotica literature laying around. So that played a part. I would definitely say that he dug deeper up until that point and decided to say, you know what, for this video performance, let me kind of use some of that and throw that in there. Of course, Prince style, of course, not just the way that he had a way of doing things. So I would say pretty much in regards to that, he doesn't get enough credit for being because we consider him a master, but he's forever a student. He always had something that he can build up on that he can possibly use for a future project, a video, and things like that. So that's why I said earlier, it's a method to his madness. And to piggyback off of what Nicolay say about us being diehard hip hop aficionados, I can truthfully say the reason why the Diamonds and Pearls era is my second favorite era is because most of my friends, with the exception of my best friend and my brother and a few of my musician friends, where we all play in the clubs and stuff like that at a young age, most of my street Brooklyn, Crown Heights project dudes that didn't want to admit that they liked Prince even back then, it would be like, no, yeah. But when Get Off and all that shit came out, and then even later on, especially with Sexy Motherfucker and all that stuff, these guys would literally be like, yo, Law, you better put that in when you do your show. You go to Sexy. They would ask me to do all the songs. And be like, I kind of like him now. So that really, like you said, the street cred thing. For those who didn't like Prince in the streets, that was the direct connecting line. Even though, in my opinion, Irresistible Bitch kind of started that, but that was more underground among Prince lovers, not in the context of the streets and when hip hop was really starting to make its rounds in that period when he did Irresistible Bitch. But for Get Off in the 90s, when hip hop, you couldn't escape it at that point because hip hop was pretty much the roadmap. Tribe Called Quest had just came out with the second album, and hip hop was in that. And then the funny thing is that later on, Q-Tip and Prince had a relationship. They did remixes and stuff like that. So that also shows you that Prince was that open-minded even in that period. He paid attention. So,
oh yeah.
Yes. We're gonna keep it moving. But I did see Rodney with the Mancina was supposed to be in Get Off, boy.
But yeah, boy. We was robbed, Mike. We was robbed.
All right.
Real quick, actually. Sorry, Mike. Sorry. I wanted to address because it's actually popped up twice in the chat where the conversation about Thunder has come up. I don't know why people keep talking about it. It keeps coming up. Just real quick. No, so
some shit as he always.
No, because the question you asked earlier, Mike, was were you like instantly in for this era or whatever, right? And I remember sticking because I got Diamonds and Pearls for Christmas. I woke up Christmas morning, ripped open the CD, and probably frustrated my mom because I listened to it about 1 billion times in that day, right? But how did that album open? It opened with Thunder all through. Like I was just like, what? Like that is like an amazing album opener. I don't know how you can like just start it from the beginning. Like if you skip to your favorite, that's one thing, right? But like if you were just like, I'm gonna listen to this front to back, and you just started with Thunder, like there's no way that you can like be like, nah, that's just okay. Like no, like that's a badass opener.
There's totally a way. There is a way.
Wait.
I tried.
Okay, Elo, man, you had to wait 2 months.
Yes. Well, because remember, I was a child.
Yeah,
and,
12.
And did not have my own money to go out and buy things.
Okay.
That's real. That's real.
Okay. I mean, I'm thinking, but none of your peers in middle school say was playing it or like rocking.
No, I was the one getting everybody else into Prince when in middle school. Like that
you
was my job.
You were a leader.
Exactly.
Okay.
A young leader. Damn.
What's great about this, or even just right here, you hear the different ages and the different times when we come into this, and that's the great thing about Prince because he is a generational artist, man. Like, no matter everyone has sort of a different coming in point, and it's beautiful. We want to move forward though, so if we can only imagine back then, you just saw Get Off, and a few days later, he's back on TV. Once again, the Arsenio Hall show is the show at this point. I wish some people, younger people, could feel like being around when Arsenio he was Black culture on TV. I mean, that's where the groups
pretty much
had opportunity to play, where they couldn't get on other shows. They could come on Arsenio and perform. Hip hop probably owes a lot.
IG stories.
Yeah. He was that guy. So here's Prince. And at that time, for me, it was like one of those things is I don't know, are they worthy of Prince type of like Prince is coming on Arsenio? Prince is on another stratosphere. He's coming to a real show that I can watch, and like he's gonna be on the whole show. It was just unheard of. Um, and I will say also, I can understand why they did not have this on the box set, but I feel like this is a quintessential performance of Prince during this era. That if you haven't, go watch it on YouTube. But God, I wish it was on this just for historical purposes. With that said, man, we're going to go around. I just got to hear what you guys thought about this. Whenever you saw this, Ricky, I'm going to go to you.
Oh man, I saw it real time. I'm not that much younger than Big Sexy by a couple of years, maybe it's because I was a junior in college, and I remember. Well, first of all, it's late night TV, so it didn't come on till like 12. So like you had to stay up. I was in the dorm, so I didn't have my VCR, so I had to make some long distance calls home to try to find somebody to record it for me. It was a big deal because Prince didn't do late night. Like prior to this moment, he had never done Carson or Letterman or none of those shows, so it was a huge thing. There was some hype about because the album was coming out. The Spin magazine had come out, so with him on the front. So like you kind of got some story there, and it was kind of like the Special Olympics thing where it was one of those moments where if you remember dorm life, you know, it's pretty much rowdy to maybe like 1, 2 in the morning, if you're lucky, you know what I'm saying. But like this particular night, you know, right as it got close to time for Arsenio to come on, it got quiet, you know, surprisingly. And it was chill. But I mean, again, it was just one of those things where like you're trying to take in the, you know, like the audio, I know the visual, you know, and then of course being like a musician, you know, you're trying to catch, you know, these little cues and little things that they're doing, you know, like what's the drummer doing, like what's the bass player doing, you know, what's the keyboard player doing, like all these little things, you know. I mean, I guess it's kind of like if you're a basketball player, it's like you look for little things, man, that basketball players do. So like musicians, and you're looking for little things. Oh yeah, what instruments are they using? Oh, it you know, man, is this like a new keyboard? You know, like you're watching him give hand signals and cues and things, but you're trying to catch it as it's happening, and you're trying to multitask while you're watching. I just remember Cream stands out to me for some reason because that was one of the songs that he did that night, and and that stands out to me because the next day, I don't know about you all, but I was one of those people where like everybody knew like I was in the Prince, so it was like, yeah, man, hey man, like I saw your boy on TV last night, you know, I dig that song Cream or like this that or whatever, and you know, like everyone else has said, it was billed as a comeback, but for those of us, I think who had been following it, you know, was kind of like a chest pumping moment. Like, see, I told you, you know what I'm saying? Okay, he hadn't fallen off. See, I told you that he was still, you know what I'm saying, like that guy. And it was like everybody was talking about it. Like, I mean, like, you know, and you were trying to find somebody that man recorded it. I mean, I guess so you could see it because even say the radio DJs, I know the next morning were like, if you didn't see the Prince thing like on Arsenio last night, I'm gonna tell you, man, you missed a treat. It was this. So it, you know, I mean, like you said, it was just one of those moments again where like you had to see it, and if you didn't, you better hope somebody had man recorded it or something because you know when somebody telling you about it wasn't gonna do you justice.
Yeah,
but
I think Cream might jump out because when Arsenio introduced him, and this is Prince, and it's like he's gonna do the premiere of this new song, like it was the first time that anybody had heard it, so that might be why it was a big deal, is because that was the first time on Arsenio.
Yeah, Cream. I think that the single came after the performance, but just the standouts for me was Kiss. I don't think I ever heard Kiss like that at that time, and seen it a decent live performance. And Cream blew my mind. Put that on cassette tape, and then also I will admit, Daddy Pop to me, I just was like, yo, like
new song.
I wasn't even in the fly at this time, but hearing that, I was just like, this is like everything that was going on stage. I just remember all the little moves he was doing. That blew my mind. And him in the yellow, it was just like, this is a new Prince to me or something. Like, what the hell is going on?
And see, now this was after the Get Off video had come out. So like for those of us that had the Get Off video, like you kind of had some more songs, but those weren't on the album because they were like, like Clocking the Jizz and Fire the Organ Grinder, those things. So, but like we did have more visuals. Like this was like, oh look, I get to see the band, and I was happy about because I wanted to see, but well, like what's the new band gonna be like? I wanted to see the band, so that was cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go to you guys. Last thing I just always remember is when he ran and slid into the audience and them girls. I was like, this one. I was like, they. I just was like, I just saw Prince as like this super thing. So the fact that he was close to regular people and like he allowed himself to just sort of get, smothered. I just thought that was so great. I was tripping. But Big Sex,
Yes.
what are some of your standout thoughts on the first Arsenio performances?
It's just like you said, it was a complete takeover. I stayed up, caught it in real time. And this is at the time with VHS, they were really doing a lot of the VHS hi-fi now. And so you couldn't tell me. I had like a Maxell ultra high-end cool guy taping them like, we're not gonna miss this one. And I still have it too here. And I just was watching the whole thing and watching the band, because again, it was like him introducing, this is what we're doing now. So if you tuned in looking to see Wendy and Lisa and Mark, you're not going to see that. If you tuned in looking to see Sheila and Kat, you're not going to see that. This is a whole new deal, whole new band, and we're going to let it rip. And he took it all over the place. It was a nice reintroduction, People, it was mentioned that people were thinking, well, maybe guy fell off. No. I think it was like a step back and reload. And going back to the MTV thing, he closed the show, and he did it for a reason, because that was a loaded show. And the producers were like, you know what, Prince, you go ahead and handle this. He let everybody know he was that guy. And he did it again on Arsenio, because I don't believe Arsenio had let anyone take over the show like that up to that point. And then he did it again, And so it was a great show, great night, watching the band perform. And I said this before to Mike, watching things recently. You watch Prince, he's got the heels, getting all these steps, not out of breath, picks up the guitar, turns that out, goes to the piano, plays the hell out of it, jumps on top of it, and he makes it look effortless. I hated him. Hated that. I can't do that.
The hater.
I was hating. I was drinking a haterade. But he made it look so effortless. I'm like, damn. Because I think it was in one of the BBC specials, Miles Davis said he never misses. Never. And he didn't.
God, can you imagine Miles Davis saying something like that about you? Like, okay. He
That's
said
a
it.
cosign right there. Yep, I don't need anything else. Miles said was good. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too, I'm gonna go to Nicolay. We can't forget that they had Patti LaBelle on the show to sort of in between the sets. And one thing you get while watching that, maybe you can see it, even understanding it now, is how much Prince was loved, how much of a mystery he still sort of was, because you hear about who else was in this? Sheila E. was in this audience.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a couple of other? There was some other.
The big thing for me was because Patti LaBelle kept calling out Sheila, and sitting right behind Sheila was Little Richard. Like nobody said nothing about legendary Little Richard sitting right behind her. Nobody said nothing about that. I found that very weird.
It goes to show like the legends are in the audience to see this special performance. So you really get a sense of how big a deal Prince was, that you would have a Little Richard just be sitting in the back in the audience. It's not an award show. Like, specifically, I want to come see this brother. Yeah, I think so. Hammer was there too, if
Oh,
I'm not
Hammer! I
mistaken.
didn't even see him, but okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Nicolay, with that said, man, we saw the first time we saw Daddy Pop was on here, Cream, but then he brought back the classics
Mhm.
as well and gave them new life. Like I said, to me, Kiss was like, whoa. What was your thoughts on this performance?
I think that's a great point, Michael. Kiss was something in particular that I feel he had really struggled with to perform just because of what it is on record. And if you listen to some of the versions, even during the parade tour or something like that, like it, like it never really gets to that pocket. And I think, by the new tour really struck me as artistically, like I realized it was sort of a stripped down thing literally, but something that really irked me about the new tour were a lot of the keyboard patches. Like it was really, it had really been sort of like it wasn't no longer like the Oberheim kind of sounding. It wasn't even really that. It was really sort of a more kind of plasticky sort of sound. And I really, again, I really thought that in terms of arrangements and in terms of how to present the material, that sort of represented kind of a lull to me. And to hear Kiss in this setting was really exciting because it was one, him acknowledging sort of his back catalog in the midst of having five, six, seven incredible single candidates. You know what I mean? But it really sounded like the band put a fresh new spin on it that really, really worked, and they did more of that, of course, when they toured later for the Symbol album, and they did like entire, they did like She's Always in My Hair, and they really kind of went down like sort of the album cuts. But yeah, I think this was a moment that Prince was probably feeling really, really, really good. Like I, without wanting to ever, like Eloy said, it's all of this is speculation, but I think he was really, really excited. I think he had taken a long time to prepare this because there were like two shows, I think early 91, that were in South America and that kind of are sort of like a little bit of a hybrid. Like they're kind of graffiti bridge shows, but it is a lot of the MPGs there.
Like the
And
Rock and Rio thing?
yeah, the Rock in Rio, and I think so. There's one in Brazil, and I think one was in Argentina or whatever. And that was sort of the moment that Dr. Fink parted ways because he wasn't. I think he had a production deal or something. He had something lined up so that he couldn't make it, and that was kind of the end of that. So it was kind of a soft launch, I think, of the MPG in many ways. But I think it really, like as a musician, the way that I think about that period, it must have really, really given him wings to be able to, like how a lot of these Diamond and Pearls recordings were done in Japan and just like after, shows and stuff. Like he was able to bring Michael and Sonny and Levi in, and they would crush stuff like, Willing and Able or whatever. You know what I mean? So if you know that your band can do that, like, yeah, you show up to Arsenio Hall and you have a big, you know what I mean? Like you know what you got, and you know that you're gonna let these guys just do them. So I think he had a really sort of if you don't want to call it a comeback, it is at the very least a reinvention. And like that was also sort of supported by the fact that I think Graffiti Bridge didn't really sell, but then Diamonds and Pearls sold like, had some major hits, some major sales behind it.
Oh, yeah.
So it paid off in that sense too. Like I think it was an artistic rejuvenation that ended up working really, really well commercially. I mean, of course, he's Prince. He's always going to think about reaching the biggest possible audience. But I do literally think that this was largely artistically motivated, and it just ended up working out really, really, really well. And he chose the right people to be able to performing at a TV show under those circumstances is incredibly tricky on a good day. You know what I mean? Like all of the like sound mixing, monitoring, like so much can go wrong. And I think he knew at that point that he had like the most professional unit in the business, and that he could ask them to do that, that he could, there's legendary moments where he would like a second before going on to Letterman or something. You tell him like, "Lo, let's scratch the second verse." You know what I mean? Like little stuff like that that would, as a musician, just give me a heart attack thinking about, being. But like that's how tight he had these MPG cats, and he didn't, as good as the bands before were. Like he didn't have that level of drop dead sort of control over his band until he put the MPG together, and boy did it pay off.
One thing I think we were talking about the success of the previous album to this. I don't know if this is the first time, but the rollout on this album, again, if you just look at these TV performances, is so like, let the music, let the performances sell this album. Put me on some of the biggest platforms, and I'm gonna blow them out. That's the ultimate selling of this album. And as I think about it now, I wonder if that is part of the success. Not, of course, the songs are excellent, but that there are these excellent songs being performed on some of the widest platforms ever, and he's killing these performances. Like, give me the whole night of Arsenio. I mean, that's a promo unto itself, right? Like, who gets that? And he kills it. Let me be on the biggest award show ever at this time, and I kill it leading into this album. I think that plays a lot to why this has such a success. Get Off is that was a moment that when that performance happened, and it's still talked about to this day. So imagine back then why people were so enamored with this version of Prince. Law, these Arsenio performance. If there's anything else you can sort of touch on with this, but like, was there a song that you like better performance than most? And what did you think of Arsenio and Patty, and just sort of the in between them? And we didn't hear Prince speak on this show except for his performances, right? But what are your thoughts?
It's at that point in Prince's career, it's to be expected. He didn't have to speak. The music spoke. And having other people who already been in the camp with you that know you more than everybody else, like a Patty and Sheila and everybody else, it was destined. I remember literally saying, like, okay, when we got the news he's going to be on Arsenio Hall, everything was shut down in the house. Like, literally, me and my brother, like, this is going to be crazy. And for me, as many of y'all know, I have a long list of heroes who inspired my Planet 12 sound, whether it's the music part of it, production, and definitely the stage stuff. So I would say, like when you have people like New Edition, Jimi Hendrix, James Brown, the Jacksons, Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane, like, this is pretty much my gamut of my influences. So the thing is, and Prince being number one, and literally from the moment they did that Diamonds and Pearls intro into Let's Go Crazy, I'm just like, what is going to happen from here? And just when I'm thinking it's going to be that song, when it go that one part, when he goes, oh no, let's go. And then he slams, you can see him slamming the pick on the floor, and it goes into a little group, and he takes off the jacket. I'm like, yo, he's about to do. And then Tony and Damon and Kirk, they backing him up. And then all of a sudden, the moves have always been crisp, but like we said earlier, I think everybody can agree, and shout out to the Game Boys once again. I can't, as a dancer, and I'm known for my dancing in addition to everything else, the combination of what we did on stage was a combination between New Edition, Temptations, and the Game Boy. That's pretty much, if you look at my whole show, you'll see different things that we implemented from all that. Just the whole thing. And then even just in the moment, like Nicolay said, that version of Kiss, he had finally found the pocket, because I had a problem with the versions going back to the Parade tour too. That's the only like lame spot for me. But there's no such thing as a lame spot with Prince. But it still didn't have the punch that it needed. That performance, the whole thing, and then the part when he just stands there and Levi's hitting the vamp out lick, and then all of a sudden, he just throws the microphone in the air. And then my mother's standing there. My mother's like, some things don't never change. It's like this whole wildness. Like, it was polished, but it was still wow. And then he goes to premiere Cream, which has this whole, I was actually God bless my grandfather. That was my grandfather's favorite song of Prince, besides The Question of You, because as y'all know, my grandfather, legendary bluesman, Sam Bluesman Taylor. So he heard because he's always be like, yeah, but does he play blues? I say, yes, Gramps, he's a serious. And when I let him hear that, he saw Cream, he heard Cream, he's like, okay, I can see why you like him now. Like, I get it. So the thing was that won me over with Gramps. And Gramps was like, okay, now I see why you're really into him. He plays all styles of music because that's pretty much what I do. But let's also give credit to that solo he did for Cream on that live version. Just simple, but it's just something like it grabbed me. Purple Rain, you know, for me, dope version of it. But at that particular point, that's the way I felt about, you know, the same way I feel about Thrillers, the same way I felt about Purple Rain. At that point, it's like, that's nostalgic. That's cool. I'm glad you did it to remind people. I get it. But I'm still stuck on the new stuff and the stuff that came a little bit after that. So for me, it's like that. Daddy Pop, I mean, the moves, the whole intro to it, to him jumping off the piano and then him literally just going, like before Tony M goes to do the rap, Prince just does this thing where he's like this. I'm like, what is he about to do? And that was always a thing with the value. But the point I want to bring up real quick, a very key element, and this is a whole shout out to Prince's knowing the new thing that he was conjuring up for this particular run that he was doing. Because like I said before, the initial focus was the fact that he fully embraced hip hop. So the very end, even though the credits would roll up, we hear Called the Law, which is probably that's in my top 5 favorite Prince B-sides. My top 5 personally. So the thing is that Called the Law, for obvious reasons, not because my name is in it, but the funny thing is also because that's a pure moment where Prince allowed his new foundation to shine. That hadn't really been, and if you think about it, with the exception of the side projects that Prince produced, he had never really done that in his band except for live shows. Like, you know, Rosie gets her piece and everybody, like Bonnie Boy would get her piece or whatever, and Kat would have her little thing and Sheila would have her thing outside the drums. But to see Prince let his new team have it in that moment, and they just rocking, like the credits are rolling up, but you can tell, if you look at Damon's face, there's a section where they go to Damon's face. They just happen to be in Arsenio Hall. These are hood boys from Minneapolis. Like, we done finally got our point.
Right, we made it.
And it's on this whole thing. And then Tony just comes in, you know, step to the mic, I chase the hype. It's manifested, discussing big. I had to bring it. I mean, he's just rhyming. And it's like the full impact of that until we hear the actual song, which is the whole song is the shit. But the thing is just that in that moment, just knowing that it made me feel proud of my idol at that moment. Like, you know, finally really engulfed yourself in a genre that grabbed a hold of me the same way rock and gospel and all my main influences coming up as a singer and a musician grabbed me. But since I'm an MC and a producer, it's like, damn, like he's really, and then with a live band. And keep in mind, if you look at the whole synergy of it all, if you notice what happens about 3 years later and then going out 10 years later, including myself, I was already on it, but rappers began to use live bands. We don't talk about that enough. I mean, Sonic is the first hip hop live band, period. But the thing is that they had, by that point, they were gone. So to have Prince have his main MC rap over a live groove, because a lot of rappers didn't like to rap over live beats. Like I said, Roots kind of brought the importance back into that later on. But in that moment, Prince used his platform to do that. So for me, that's like the real standout moment, in addition to the ones that I mentioned, with just Prince being who he's always been. So just more so like the dance moves were more aggressive, the grooves were more intoxicating, and it just was a vibe. Like you said, new energy, new pump, but it's still the same old Prince. It's still rock and roll. It doesn't really change who he was, just enhance more of who he is. So,
you know what, man, that's a good point, because this was pre Brand New Heavy's Heavy Rhyme Experience.
That's what I was going to ask. Brand New Heavy.
Unplugged. Yeah, you know, all that stuff. So like it hadn't been seen. So I mean, that was a probably doesn't get credited enough. Probably meant for being like one of the first moments that had actually kind of happened live. You know, not like in the studio type deal.
Yeah. And it was raw. It was live. It wasn't you could just tell the whole vibe of it. They sitting there just rocking. Like, I'm like, see, this is, after all that hype, they let them take over the show and people were digging it. It wasn't like, okay, who are these guys? It was more like, okay, you know, like
Right.
that kind of thing. It was like people was getting, they were getting involved with it. So that, to Nicolay's credit, what he said later on when the symbol period came, it's like, okay, now we know what to expect. It's going to be different too, but now we know. So when Sexy Motherfucker came out, it's like, damn, it's
Cancel Christmas.
just nothing could trump. Just so nothing could trump
All
Call
right.
the Law for me as an MC. Sexy Motherfucker. And may I note this too, real quick, as a real MC whose heroes are Cool G Rap, LL, Prince rhymed better than most of these guys now. Like some of the new, like all these new MCs, and even some of the ones that were out during that period. For Prince not being a rapper, he rhymed. It's like, yo, I dug it, and I wasn't saying that because it's Prince. I'm like, oh, he's really rhyming.
Thank you.
I'm like
I'm always over here defending Prince's rapping. Thank you, Law. I appreciate it.
We're gonna let that ride.
His rhymes.
We got a few more minutes. I want to make sure we still got a few things to get into, but that's interesting. This right here.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're not going to be able to spend too much time on this, but be remiss to get some quick impressions of just what you guys. If only this had came out back when this came out, right?
I agree,
Mike, you know, man, I will say this. You know, it's always, man, discussions about what's your favorite Prince band and all this type of stuff, and I really try to stay away from those because I like all of them.
Me too.
And I think every band that he has, and this is a testament, man, to him, but every band that he has a moment where they're like on it. Like you can hear a show and they're like just smoking. I think for the Revolution, it might be the birthday show at First Avenue. For the Love Sign band, I can't call them in the band with no name. I call them the Love Sign band. You know, could be one of the after show gigs, but I think for this band, like this moment was that moment where like you can hear it and not watch the video, and you can feel like they were just on it that night. Like say whatever it was, I don't know what the pep talk was that he gave them, but they were just on it that night. Like they were just like I mean, I know for people not to like Jughead prior to hearing that, and then afterwards, now all of a sudden Jughead is one of their favorite songs. That tells you just how much like they were on it that night. Like I mean, man, and you know, like we may ask them, and they'll say, "Oh, well, it could be another show," but that audio captures them like they were on it that night. Like I mean, they were smoking that night.
And I'm honestly, they stayed tight because if you listen to the main tour shows, like there's very little that ever not goes right. Like and I think it was largely because he had a whole year essentially before even or longer. I think the tour didn't really start until summer of '92, maybe. Well, it started in early spring, I think, in Japan or something like that. But either way, like I think he drilled them for a year, and like they stayed on it like pretty much until like 95, 96, like when he obviously kind of brought them down to a 5-piece, but like, and they had a lot of material ready at the go. Like if you can call the Law on Arsenio, you know what I mean? Like they had the album material, they had the hits, and then they had this whole sort of sub-parallel lane of MPG material, like Call the Law and what later was like Oil Can and Deuce and a Quarter and all that stuff. Like they had so much, like they must have known like literally dozens and dozens of songs. And I think as a band leader, that kind of puts him on like a Duke Ellington level to me. You know what I mean? Somebody that is like in 100% sort of a master of the combo, if you will, that he's put together, and it functions as a living, breathing thing. Like it's not 12 people, it's one sort of thing. You know what I mean? And that is very, very. That only happens if you take incredibly talented people, but B, you take the time. And they probably were drilling the entire year of 1991. You know what I mean? And I mean, again, it paid off. Like, and they were all ready to do that. Like somebody like a Michael B was at his prime at that moment. Like he was a young gun. And then somebody like Sonny T was kind of on the opposite end of that, like one of Prince's very, biggest childhood heroes. And to have both of those, his band was rooted in the past, but looking forward, what I mean, at the same time, and like endless possibilities.
And
Let's-
Prince did say that John Bon Jovi asked him if
that's right.
if he could play with his band, and Prince was like, "That's like, man, getting with my woman, nah."
Right. Right. No, hell no.
And plus, you ain't ready, Nick, but that's my
Yeah.
real quick. Because we only got a few minutes. I want to make sure everybody gets in. So I'm gonna start a Big Sexy. Just give us like 2 minutes. One, your thoughts on this, the Dolby Atmos. I'm throwing a lot, and just your overall thoughts on this box set. Big Sexy, go.
All right. First, the Dolby Atmos and the Blu-ray DVD combination, incendiary. When you catch a performance like that in such a small space, he had the whole crew up there, and that stage was not meant for this. And they went up there and wrecked the building. Prince is on the bar doing his thing, the intensity, and again, that's what I miss most about live music. You know, when you get a band that's real good, and you put them in a small space where the hardcore fans are, there's nothing like it. When he was doing the Third Eye Girl tour, you know, that played in smaller arenas, loved it. You could feel it. And at the same time, when you do the Greatest Hits tour on the arena tour, yeah, whatever. That was bullshit. But when the music is really hitting and he digs into the pocket for a B-side, insane. The box set itself, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I think Prince has really inspired other people to step up their box set game. You know, with the Super Deluxe edition, I don't think anyone was even doing that, using that phrase before Prince started doing it. And now every time I look up, oh well, here's a set from this group, here's a set from that group. Hey, you do what you do, do what you do. And as a consumer of vinyl and music, it's better for us. You know, if you have all these bands coming out saying, look, we want to do this too, and we want to make a statement, make your statement. Do what you do, let it rip. And the good thing about this is there's still so much more that's going to be coming out. And I am here for all of it. All of it.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Now we're in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Now you're going to get it.
All along.
We cannot end this without Big Sexy talking about the Atmos, the Dolby Atmos mix. Can you talk to us about it?
Sure. For those of us who don't have the Atmos set up, you have your normal 5.1 setup, and you also have 2 channels above you. And it really sets up the ambience really nice. A lot of people think, well, I can get that on the sound bar. No, you can't. No, you can't. Just stop. And it's just really amazing. And the thing is, and I'm not trying to be an audio snob today, but if you're going to do something like that, it takes time to build up your system to be able to pull that off. But once you pull it off, oh God, it's heaven. It's heaven. You know, I know that D'Angelo's got some pretty high-end gear running around. I know I do. And once you do it and you hear it that first time, you step back and say, okay, wow. Same thing with this. Because I was a little leery about it, and I put it in, fired it up, and just let the music take me to the next level. I loved it. Loved it. Highly, highly recommended.
All right. We got a few minutes. So Eloy, overall thoughts, please.
Okay, so about the show, I want to circle back to something Nicolay said when he was saying that like Kiss was performed. Like that's one of my sticking points with Prince live performances kind of in general, is that not every one of his bands can pull off Kiss. I've said for a long time that Kiss is an excellent 100% magnificent studio track that does not always translate well live. But what I will say is with this band, it worked. Like it doesn't work with everybody, but it worked here. And like that to me, I feel is a testament to just how tight the group was and how much they were all vibing with each other. Cause man, I've heard like, and you know, and it's Prince and it's just like, I'm just like, oh God, just take Kiss off of the list or skip it. It's fine. It's good. Like I love the song, but let's just get to the next one, please. You know, because it just don't always work. It don't always work. Overall, I think that the Prince estate has set the standard for box sets. And it started with Sign of the Times. Then we got Welcome to America, which was very similar in its casings and its framings. Now we got this one. I hope they continue going forward this way. I love making a spectacle out of Prince's music. That's what we need, right? It can't just be, we released another thing. We released another thing. It needs to be bam. It needs to be another Prince box set is out and another one's out. Like, it needs to be this huge thing that people have to take notice of. So like, I love that personally.
Nice. Law, overall thoughts,
man. Real quick, like I said, the performance just in that was something that even us most hardcore Prince fans didn't know that we needed, but it's just another, anything at this point with coming out of the vault and then just the re-releasing of stuff, it's just a reminder on why we're all here in terms of just even to have a discussion about it, because we're 20, 30 something years later and he's still captivating us. And even though all of us saw it in real time with some of this stuff, it's just very thing. But the box set, from my spirit and my soul, as someone who's known for his singing, real MC and real musicianship, Sign of the Times is my favorite era, my favorite band, but Diamonds and Pearls is number 2. So for me, and the discussion me and Tony had, we was in the studio, as y'all saw, we were drawing on all this stuff, and just even having the effect of just being able to say, I'm like, the fact that those guys get to get celebrated, not just the band, but the contributions of the Game Boys, and then particularly Tony M's rapping and just the whole flair, the style, and how it meshed with Prince's thing. But at the same time, Prince allowed himself to be vulnerable and open to their influence. And it's a true testament to that. So thank God for this box set, period.
Yes. Ricky.
First of all, it was kind of an emotional box set for me because my homegirl, man, D'Angela, had an essay. So that was a big thing. And then Kanisa had an essay. So, props to them and Dwayne. But overall, man, just like he says in Jughead, hurt me. It was just fire, man. I mean, like, just when you think you've seen him do it all, like Nicolay said, man, he doesn't, I mean, I know you see this live show and you're like, this motherfucker again? Like, it's just, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only musician that went somewhere and was like, I got to go back and shed some more. I got to go practice or something. I mean, just man, the overall tightness of, say, the band. I know the songs that we had heard about for years, finally coming out, what I'm saying, getting, clear quality, props and pounds, like, to the estate, man, for doing a great job on it. Like Eloy said, I hope they continue, like, to do these epic, box sets or like super deluxes. Man, I mean, and I'm glad that this era, something post 80s era or post 80s decade, is getting some love and burn and say attention.
100%. Oh my gosh.
Amen.
And I'm glad that the band members are getting some shine. Because I know, because they played in a pivotal part too. Like, they are part of the puzzle, and this is, man, a pivotal piece to Prince's puzzle. And so I'm glad that this era is being, like, revisited. I'm glad it got reloaded. It is there for us to kind of, man, check out. So yeah, that's my take on it.
And my brain is going crazy. Did I forget? Did I get Law in or Nicolay?
Nicolay.
Yeah, man. I do have a critical note, of course.
Please.
This being me, I don't like that they're holding all of these albums hostage in terms of the remastering, because this is a long, drawn-out process, and as such, we have now 4 albums in and that's the only thing that I think I don't like about this box set approach, is that I would have liked to have seen a parallel track of just remastered albums of the entire catalog. That said, I was really happy when they announced this box set, because to me it felt like it was a really nice clean break from the revolution oriented stuff they have done before. Like, I was a little bit miffed at how the Sign of the Times box set was sort of partly framed as a revolution thing, or at least like a post-revolution thing. And what I really like about this era is that there's just no way that you could even muddy the waters. This is dead all. You know what I mean? This is what it is. And as such, I was really pleased to know that we would get a new set of characters to frame all of this. As somebody who wasn't 100% on board at the time, like, this box set has truly made me fall in love with this era, which I'm very thankful for. That's partly, I think, because we've lost Prince, and it makes me really look at everything that he's done in a different way, even the things that I wasn't really super into at the time. But I've really gotten a newfound appreciation of this era. Some of the outtakes are incredible. Some of my favorite ones are on there. And so, yeah, I kudos to everybody putting this together. Kudos to our own family for contributing to this work. I think that was really nice to see, like, the perspective of some real ones in this represented. So I've really only got good things to say, but I would again stress the estate, like, please, let's get this remastering going, because if this tempo keeps up, like, we might not be there to get all of them, and I want all of them. Like, I need all of the albums remastered, stat. Like,
agreed. Amen.
No more bullshit. No more bullshit. Let's do it.
Right. Facts.
And I just wanted to add, and I know we're going to wrap this up, to say that as much as I love
your opinion, brother.
Oh, well, for me personally, I love it. I mean, it's simple to say. I love it. Bring it all on. There could be more that they can do. My only thing I would say is treat the video as important as the audio, because that is Prince on screen. That's the performance. That's what the performance has got me into Prince. So the videos, the performances have to be the same quality as we put the music. I don't care what the budget is. But looking down in the future, we need to see the crystal clear versions of those videos. Music videos can't just be the same version that's on YouTube. We need to see as best that they can get. And if they have to spend some money to do it, please do it. That concert is a testament to that. But those music videos need to be in 4K too.
Amen. Amen.
I need to see it crystal clear. I want to see Prince and all. I want to see the hair and the curls, and all of that. The texture of the clothing is so you know. But with that said, I love it, man. And one, I just want to say thank you to D'Angela and Arthur for putting this on, having us all on here. This was so much fun.
D'Angela,
in a second, but we want to make sure she gets her props. And thank you so much for the opportunity, and also to these brothers here, man. This is great. Thank you so much, man. Everybody here has added something. There she is.
Uh-oh. There she go. No shake button.
Provost is here. Uh-oh.
I love that, by the way. I love that.
Hey, let me say this though, because I am riding in the passenger seat, but D'Angela Duff is driving the bus. The whole Stem to Stern website. And I want to say that because seeing the two of us together, it is a family thing, but the work, the heart, the sweat is coming from D'Angela Duff. And I absolutely will not put a toe in her spotlight at all.
Aww.
That being said, this is just the second panel.
True. True.
And I don't know where those balloons came from.
It's a party.
The bar has been risen.
Wow.
This is just the second panel, and you know, my computer is smoking.
Well.
All right. So I have, everybody who's on this screen should know how much I absolutely love you. I love each and every one of you for always answering my call. Yeah, yes.
I didn't mean to hit that.
It's okay. It's okay. But I have to give a very special shout out to Nicolay because I've missed you so. Thank you so much for doing this. And I know you're extremely busy. So
You're
thank you
welcome back.
so much. Yes.
Always a
Michael,
pleasure.
You are the best moderator, bar none. The best interviewer, the best. I love you so much. Thank you so much.
It's a business.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sexy, thank you so much for breaking down that Dolby Atmos and how you got to have the right system to hear it right. So hopefully people heard you. And Princess Friend, you are incredible. I love your energy. I love your perspective. I love how you fight for certain princesses that get neglected.
Yes.
Law, thank you so much. Your mad energy. Like I told my mom to watch this panel in particular because she loves you. Because she was like, Law is not dead. He is alive. So, and last and definitely not least, Ricky, who has been rolling with me since teens in this. So, we've been rolling a long time.
Since the cafeteria and library days.
Oh man!
Wow.
That's
literally cafeteria and library days.
Yes, Ricky is my day one. My day one. So I'm so appreciative of you guys. So I don't say thank you enough, but I just want you to know I really mean that sincerely. That's not smoke and all that jazz. So I'm going to take you off the screen one by one so that we can actually do the transition to our break. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can do this. Bye, everybody.
Till next time.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
That was such amazing panel. I don't know about you, but I'm so excited. I got hot flashes. It was incendiary. Fire.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the breadth of discussion over and I mean, again, it's just the second panel, and the breadth of discussion over this period is just fantastic. It's really just a testament on how the album really just as a concept and as a period really punched above its weight. I know that there are many fans who, if given a choice, would say, well, I prefer the Symbol album from 1992, over this. But it's really Diamonds and Pearls that established a completely new foundation for Prince to build and go into the second decade of his career.
Indeed. So let's talk about what's coming up next. So we are going to take a bio break until the top of the hour, and we will return at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you thought this past roundtable discussion was incredible, the next one is going to be just as incredible, amazing. Intellectual heavyweights, yes. This is going to be a very interesting conversation with Celie moderating. This is our writers roundtable, the writers. And we have my triplet, Camila Cummings. We have one of my favorite writers of all time, Zach Hoskins. We have my brother in Harold Pride. And we have the one and only, one of the people, whenever he speaks, I stop what I'm doing to see what is Scott saying. I want to know. So Scott Woods, I'm sure, is going to say some incredible things. So I can't wait to hear them in conversation with one another. So we do want to take a break, and we hope that you'll move your body, hydrate, get coffee, do some jumping jacks, whatever you need to do in order to get your energy up, because you do not want to miss the next panel. You really, really don't. You want to be here for this. So, yeah. All right. We're outie.